girls gotta tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one man, forget about peace. You take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put him in a cage, never let out the. Yeah, I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Not so tough, but mans keep walking. Yeah, just too sharp with the prize. Right girls, let her tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
Hey, Mike, Henry Kissinger died.
Rest in power.
Amin just said right before we started, I'm not a good breather, I've discovered. And I have gotten complaints recently because people have been complaining about our audio and other things, that as a show, and me, I think, as a chief culprit, not good breathers, that we breathe too heavily into the microphone. I've gotten an assortment of complaints. How is it that you arrived at the conclusion, Amin, that you're not a good breather?
It's been something in the back of my mind for the last few months, and it all comes down to actually doing this job, but not breathing into the microphone. It's my ability to deliver content without taking a breath. I can't do it like I used to be able to do it. So now I find myself running out of breath mid-sentence and trying to look for that exit ramp so it doesn't sound like I just talk like this.
That happens to Stugotz and Greg Cody a great deal. I wonder if it is a stamina issue. Charlotte, have you noticed this on Oddball? Have you noticed that he's running out of breath as he sprints toward the finish line on a point?
Now that you say it, a little bit.
Yeah.
Now that you say it, sometimes you'll have a pause in a place that I think is for effect, and I'm like, oh, interesting choice, but you're just trying to breathe.
I'm just trying to breathe.
Okay, we should probably sharpen that up as professional communicators. We will try to do that. We will probably fail. I wanted to ask Charlotte and Jessica, I don't know what their experience has been in Miami here with iguanas, with throughout the seasons. I've told you the story that Pat Riley came out of.
Love him.
Pat Riley came out of his home one time around this time of year, and there were still and what he thought dead iguanas all over the place, because when it gets cold, because they shouldn't be here, they're an invasive species, when it gets cold, they freeze up and try and protect their bodies, and it looks like they're dead, and what he ended up doing is burying them, and then they were dead. But they were not dead at the time. And the reason I bring this up is it's gotten worse in South Florida, and there are a bunch of city and county commissions trying to do stuff about getting rid of them. They say humanely, and when I heard how it is that you get rid of snakes in the Everglades humanely, it's by putting a bullet in their head very quickly. It's not very humane. But
how's that not humane? You're going to kill them like you want it to be fast. That is the most humane.
And also, root word of humane is human.
I'd rather get rid of these delivery boxes on wheels than iguanas. I mean, those things are far more terrifying.
They are. I discovered them in California, and I didn't understand how all of them aren't in ditches, how they aren't broken into, how they aren't causing accidents. I was amazed in traffic that they were able to navigate traffic.
I see the same one every day walking to the Bright Line, and I'm always like, where are you going? Same time every day.
How do you know it's the same one, Chris?
I mean, it's the same. It's around my walk. I'm walking to the Bright Line in the afternoon. This thing's always coming down North Miami Avenue.
And it says, "Good morning, Chris." And I'm like, it's you again.
They don't talk. They will in the future, but they don't talk yet.
To answer your question about iguanas, my experience has been since I moved here. When I lived in New York, I had a dog, Willow, who we all know and love, except Amin. And when I'd take her for walks and you'd see something dart around on the sidewalk out of the corner of your eye, it would always be a huge rat. And so I got used to being kind of startled every time I saw something scurry by me on the sidewalk. Then I moved to Miami, and every time I see something scurry by me on the sidewalk now, I kind of like jump, but then I'm like, oh, it's just a lizard or an iguana. And they're not as scary to me. So I kind of am excited and happy to see them now because I just expect them to be rats, and they're not.
Seems
they're
prejudiced to me.
Do you like rats, Amin?
Do you like iguanas?
Yeah, because they're not rats.
Why'd you adopt one?
Okay, maybe I will.
Got her ass.
Yes. Internet 1, Jess 0.
Have you seen green, orange ones, the big ones, the giant ones? You haven't been scared by any of the big ones that are much bigger than rats. They're not quite alligators, but they're certainly not lizards. They're big.
I've seen ones in the Keys that are so big that they'll climb from limb to limb and the entire tree will shake. And you're like looking up like, oh my God, like what is and that's just, you just see a huge tail, and the tail is 3 times as long as the body. It's truly wild.
What is the natural predator for an iguana?
Pat Riley.
Golf balls.
I would just like to say that freeze up and look like they're dead is what I do when I can't land a joke on this show.
You waited. You almost had the window before that. You waited for the time to make it. And
Do you like when I repeat the joke that's now too late to say? Yeah, it's fun.
No, I think that I'm trying to get to this place with the iguana. I have not seen this before. It's being called the chicken of the trees.
Oh, did they taste
By who?
good?
By some of the people who are talking and being quoted in a story that tells me that city commissions are trying to get rid of them. And one of the ways to get rid of them is by eating them. Tuna was advertised. Which was the company? Was it Sunkiss?
Bumblebee tuna.
As chicken of the seas, and now I've heard iguanas described as chicken of the trees. I've lived here all my life without ever hearing that, and without ever knowing that would be something that people would treat as edible.
Listen to this lead from this article. What is this? The Florida something or other. All right.
Nailed it.
Yep. While many
I'm
people,
glad you decided to do the sourcing on that just so that you could get the sourcing generally wrong.
Florida something or other. While many people view South Florida's invasive iguana population as an annoyance at best and a pandemic at worst, Ishmael Asson sees something else. Lunch.
Asson?
Asson is spelled exactly like that. Asson.
I was just talking to Thomas in the other room.
Big Show.
And he was saying that he has had both iguana and camel, and he can attest to it tasting something like chicken. And
Hell yeah.
We got a quote from Mr. Asson. Quote, "I prefer to eat it with the skin on," he said, "because then I know what I'm eating. It kind of gives you a sense of humor, like, this is iguana, you know?"
No,
Me now, ass
not
on.
really.
Put it on
reading voice.
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Would you eat iguana if it was served at a gourmet restaurant and you were promised that it was chicken of the trees?
Aren't chickens chicken of the trees? They go in trees.
Can chickens fly?
They cannot.
Chickens go in trees?
I've seen them in high places where they like go up and then they coodle.
They what?
You've seen a chicken in a tree?
That's what they do. They go up to like a little high branch somewhere.
Is coodle a word? What is coodle?
What do you call it?
I thought it clucked. I thought a chicken clucked.
No, that's when they. That's a cluck.
Chickens can fly, but not for long distances. At what point is it just a jump?
Cockadoodle?
To coodle is to cook something, and there's also a coodle pillow, which is a couple's foam cuddling pillow.
Oh.
But can chickens climb trees? Because Jessica is saying that they can climb trees, and I don't.
Also to treat in an indulgent, overprotective way.
Some breeds, yes.
No, that's coddle.
Not all breeds perch on tree branches. Smaller, lighter chickens with longer wings can fly better than meatier breeds. So yes, they can.
Stupid autocorrect.
Also, I was going to say we need to put some respect on iguanas because they are the closest thing we have to dinosaurs, and we need to respect what came before us. But then I Googled it.
Yeah.
Birds.
I Googled are iguanas related to dinosaurs. It says iguanas did not descend from dinosaurs, so we can eat them.
Yeah. How would you spell coodle?
Also, would you not eat a dinosaur if it was available?
I'd try it.
Absolutely, man. Oh, my God. Some T-Rex wings?
Some fried T-Rex.
Oh, boy.
Looks like coodle is not a word.
Brontosaurus ribs, like
Never
the
seen Arrested
Flintstones.
Development.
I slide down.
I feel like if a dinosaur showed up right now, I probably wouldn't want to eat it. I'd be like, we should protect this thing.
Oh, there's one
omelet.
playing point guard for the Heat.
Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Would you eat fried T-Rex at Le Batard Show? I'm glad we got to the bottom of all that. And since Mike Ryan mentioned
Disapprove.
the Miami Heat. Mike Ryan, the reason Kyle Lowry suddenly hates the media in Miami. He's always been someone who likes the media, and he doesn't like the way that Heat fans talk about him. He's one of the most unpopular players in Heat history. But
Is he? Or are we just saying that?
No, he's Zaslow's least favorite Heat player.
I feel
of all
like
time.
that's pretty overstated, though.
Me too.
I don't hear, outside of Zaslow and Mike, I don't hear this hate for Kyle Lowry.
I don't see you at the meetings.
There aren't a lot of Heat players historically who have been hated and frustrating. Jamal Mashburn is among them. Antoine Walker was before he won a championship. And so Kyle Lowry is in that class of frustrating. They expected a Hall of Fame last piece type of player, and he has not been that. And so that is where the frustration
They went to the finals.
My frustration lies with them expecting a Hall of Fame point guard when he was very clearly diminishing.
Sometimes I wonder about you guys. Like, has the success warped your brain in the sense that
I'm not mad at Kyle. Kyle, I think, is aging at a normal rate for a professional basketball player that does absolutely have Hall of Fame credentials. I was mad at the roster addition, and I just can't get mad at the Miami Heat front office every time he's coming down the court doing nothing.
look, here's my thing. One, if you're asking me would I rather had Dragic and Precious Achiuwa than Kyle Lowry, yes, I would rather have that. But the most hated, like that's.
I said one of the most hated,
and
one
I
of
said
the most
absolutely
frustrating.
the most hated. Yeah, no, he's up there, and it's great to see him with Josh Richardson, who also occupies this precious space.
It is wild just to hear the tone around this team because you hear Giannis the other night in the postgame just praising, like talking about last year when they beat it. Like, you just watch this team and nobody plays harder than the Heat. And it seems like we don't appreciate this. I feel like this run that this Heat team is on with the talent that they have is just so impressive. And we're sitting here talking about how much we hate Kyle Lowry.
Chris, in 4 years, they've been to the finals twice, and they lost in the Game 7 of an Eastern
And you have
Conference
Giannis
Finals.
just being like, after I got eliminated last year, I watched them in the playoffs, and yeah, they're not flashy names. They just play harder than everybody. And that's pretty cool that we have that team and we're still nitpicking.
The thing that I wanted to talk to you about because of the roster construction.
Yeah, can you nitpick on one of the biggest contracts on the team? It's a pretty big nit to pick.
Do you hate Kyle Lowry? Do you hate what Kyle Lowry does, or do you hate Kyle Lowry?
Oh, well, Kyle Lowry is a very nice
Yeah,
man, and he
he's-
used to be a friend of the show before we started sharing honest opinions about the man. But I don't hate Kyle Lowry.
Yeah.
He walked through a drive-through, okay? He'll always be fine with me.
He seems like he's always
Nice.
Well put.
She's right, though.
No, he is. Like
fine.
when he went on TNT's postgame show during the postseason run last year, the playoffs. That's what you call it. I have a basketball
You got this.
show.
Keep going.
No, he was like speaking about the team and about what they were doing with such. He was so into it. He was so bought in, and I feel like is it that he's just not delivering on that?
I think that the team just could have been better had they gone in a different direction. I think that's pretty irrefutable. And this is a team, as Chris pointed out, has had plenty of success. And I don't think Kyle Lowry is having a bad year necessarily this year. It's just it ties your hand behind your back when it comes to helping improve this roster. There's a roster that has very aggressive front office members that have been trying to improve the team. Kyle Lowry's name has often been floated in trades, and thankfully it's an expiring deal, so it has a little bit more value in the bizarro NBA, where acquiring one of those at the deadline is actually a big coup because you're trying to – that's actually a chicken word. Koodle is not. It's just he's not – He's not. Why are we doing the Kyle Lowry show again? He's just not
I
a good
didn't mean
player.
to. I wanted to move past it. I've been trying to for a second, but we kind of got stuck there. And in the middle of it, Amin helpfully, and something only me and Charlotte could hear, whispered ever so gently to his teammate on Oddball, "Well said." After she,
You said well said.
Yeah.
I said nice.
I do have a take just splintering off of.
Wait a second. No, we're not.
what did you whisper to her? What did you whisper to her?
I didn't hear anything from him.
You whispered to somebody.
Might have been
something.
to me.
I think it was Chris Cody.
It was Chris.
And I didn't say
So
well
you
said.
said well said to Chris Cody
I
about
didn't-
Charlotte.
I didn't say well said.
Okay.
I said Bryce Young.
But you mentioned
This
all
segment
the-
is well said, goddammit.
You mentioned all the success that the Miami Heat have had over the last 4 years, and recently coming within
This is
arguably
where I was trying to get.
a Max Strus heel of back-to-back NBA Finals. It's been reported now. Obviously, many people are just learning about this, but Spo and his now ex-wife have announced their divorce. And if you look at the last two postseasons and you take all of Miami's on-court success, it's incredible when you consider what the coach has been going through. His personal life over the last 2 years has been turned upside down. Health issues with a child, now his marriage now becoming public knowledge that's no longer a thing. Incredible to navigate all of that, because these are horrible things this man has been dealing with. And this team has found a way to have Giannis speak about them in glowing terms, and in everyone's eyes, from experts to casuals, know that this Miami Heat team over the last few years has been punching well above its weight class and elevating his legacy. Is in my lifetime, and I saw Phil and I saw Pat Riley, I'd put Erik Spoelstra up there with all of them. One of the greatest NBA coaches of all time, ranked as such when the NBA anniversary stuff came out. Incredible job navigating all of that stuff to have this team that is nothing really special have that much success.
I wanted to talk about the difficulties of that combined with what is happening right now with the praise of Bam Adebayo. When you take Tyler Hero off the court, when you take Jimmy Butler off of the court, and then all of a sudden we're left with a game where Giannis and Lillard are going against Bam. And on one end, Bam is guarding Giannis and then at the end of the game they put him on Lillard because that's where the ball's going. It's not going to Giannis. And on the other end, as Amin has been maybe the most vocal national critic of Bam Adebayo, refusing to call him Bam when the other pieces are off of the floor all of a sudden, and this has been all season, whether they're on the floor or not.
Thank you.
He is shooting a ton, he's being aggressive, and he's going at Giannis, who's a defensive player of the year, a pretty impossible guard, and I thought the growth of Bam was over, I go by the standard that Daryl Morey puts out there in general player analysis that is subjective, which is 3 years, you know what a guy is. He's only going to improve so much after that. And you've seen a very obvious leap from Bam Adebayo and I know people around here are sick of the phrase heat culture. I want to play some sound here from Shaquille O'Neal defining heat culture, even though he, upon arrival, tried to change it more than anyone upon arrival because he was his own economy and he didn't feel like he had to listen to some of the things around him because he had grown very used to being a player who built jobs to his specifics and had earned it, actually, after, championships and dominance and everything else. But Shaquille O'Neal now, in retrospect, even though he didn't like being pushed quite so much, has a definition for this heat culture that we talk about that endures beyond a divorce and a sick child as Erik Spoelstra tries to keep something together with a mania, that I believe simply doesn't allow a human being to actually be happy.
Do we?
The obsession that these coaches have to abide by does not allow them a balance. It does not. It never minds supporting having a balance. It doesn't allow the kind of balance that can result in happiness if the way that you measure success is only by winning and all around you, your life falls apart. And I don't mean to, by the way. I want to start here. I don't know, obviously, what happens in that marriage or in any marriage. There are a lot of contributing factors to divorce.
Like Spo's divorce, we're not talking about Spo's divorce. We're talking about it's an on-ramp to a conversation that's bigger than that, which is, can you have a normal life and do this job? And do this job well.
And can you have a happy life? Can you have not just a normal life?
Right.
I'm not even talking about normal and balanced. I'm talking about, yesterday Chris Cody objected to me saying that I wouldn't be right now, wouldn't want to be a college football coach for all the money in the world. And Billy's response was, well, if they get fired, then they get their money.
They get all the money in the world.
Yes. However, all of the people in that job, the way their mentality works, they can't be like, if I get fired, whatever. Like, that's not, you're not a good coach if you're like, if I get fired, whatever. That person has no chance of being a good head coach. Now, I'll make that across sports. If there is a head coach that enters the job thinking, if I get fired, you will fail. You will fail as a coach. All of those people are driven in a way that is mentally unhealthy to compete against other mentally unhealthy people around their obsession. And Spo is better than any of them because he's a little more committed than the rest of them in a way that I don't believe can make people happy, and I think will test their sanity.
Well, I think it depends what happiness means to you, not to be that guy. But for some people, if you are that competitive, happiness is that feeling of being in the zone. You don't think so, I mean?
The Pat Riley quote is, there's winning and then there's misery. There is no, wow, that was a job well done. And even when you are at that elite level of winning, like the respite that comes from not winning is so short. So what I mean by that is Steve Kerr walks in and is immediately at the very apex of not just competition and winning, but now you're competing against ghosts, as I lost my breath right there. It just happened right there.
I heard it.
Right? So he's competing against ghosts. He's competing against Phils and Reds and people like that, right? The happiest year, he won't say this out loud, I think the happiest year he had was that year when everybody was hurt and they won like 20 games. Because it's just like, oh my God, like we're just teaching basketball now. But he gets to be that happy because he knew we'll be back. Like when everyone gets healthy, we'll be back to doing that apex predator stuff. But for just one day, 1 year to walk around, it doesn't matter if we win or lose tonight because we're terrible, and that's all it is. That is very rare for most of these guys. They win, they get the champagne, they get the parade, and then they're back to being paranoid for the rest of the time. And that's why that Pat Riley quote is everything. Like winning and misery. That's true for 99% of coaches, I would say.
I have had a number of conversations with Pat Riley where he seems to find it weird that I'm always asking him about, why aren't you happier? Why aren't you happier? And he's like, that stuff is fleeting. And he showed up. He surprised me, caught me off guard at the memorial for my brother, and gave me some advice that no one else has given me throughout all of this, as I've been like just totally broken. And it caught me off guard, and I'm not sure I even totally understood it, because we were talking about writing, and he said, go to the loneliness. Go to it. It's good for you. That's where greatness is. And I wonder at the end of his life, as he inspects mortality and wherever it is you do the deathbed regret stuff, whether what Charlotte's saying is true, that the height of competition, the happiest feeling that these people can feel, Pat Riley says, yes, Game 7 is the greatest feeling because they don't actually hang you in a town square by your thumbs. Like it's the height of all the things I am competing against somebody else and all the things they are. All the things I've poured into the loneliness. Like Drew Brees talked about this. The loneliness of being in the facility at 9 o'clock at night because he needed to know more than everyone else. And everyone else is gone. All those other bodies that are killing each other are gone. But the greatness was where Drew Brees was in the meeting room by himself, like, just, I got to over-prepare. I got to be more prepared than everybody else. I've not heard since that advice either from everybody. As everyone's got a lot of advice on how I should deal with grief, and no one else has given me the advice of go to the loneliness. That seems scary to me. Like I got away from writing and did this because I want laughter. I want communal shit. I want stuff that's shared. But when you share that misery with other people, it is the height of happiness in that world, but it'll get you divorced. Like,
yeah, well, you don't have to take every bit of advice.
It was a suggestion, perhaps?
I don't even want the Shaq culture video anymore because I know how sick people are of heat culture. I don't think there's anything I can talk about here that's going to agitate people more.
But Dan, it is a local hour, and it is on Max, and this did happen on TNT, and that's what you call corporate synergy.
Yes.
Okay, all of this happened. Well, that changes everything,
Yeah.
doesn't it? I hadn't even considered that possibility. And we didn't talk about the merging of Stephen A. Smith and Michael Wilbon in TNT. We didn't even talk about how now you have public comments. Zaslav, the head of all of Discovery's stuff,
Zaslav?
He's awesome.
is saying that they don't need the NBA anymore, that they're not into renting properties.
Yeah,
that-
I don't think he exactly said that. I think the question was posed to him about because the NBA rights deal is coming up, and I'm a little concerned as to why Mark Cuban would be jumping ship at this time. There's all sorts of conjecture as to whether or not they're actually going to get what they thought they were going to get a couple of years ago. But I think it kind of ties into the intellectual property conversation that Amin kind of started yesterday a little bit, that leasing properties and renting properties isn't really where these big content companies are going now. They want a stake in the action. I actually read way in to his comments and started assuming, wait, do you have equity in some of these other sports and entertainment properties that you're putting over the air? Because in the wrestling rumor mill, are you tipping your hand that you kind of own AEW? And what do we make of you negotiating reportedly with Nick Khan and WWE and bringing them into the fold? So it's an interesting place right now with all these live rights broadcasts because, as you know, ratings are different now. Streamers and whatnot and lives and viewer habits have changed. It's a fascinating time, and big decisions need to be made. You caught my eye, Amin, on Oddball. I saw one of these clips. It's not just because you're handsome, but it was because of a take that you had about Mark Cuban actually leaving at this really important time in the NBA's history.
Yeah, no, he went on All the Smoke and said the next deal's all right, but the deal after that I'm worried about. He also said that the NFL does better than us on TV, but we do way better than them on social, and we beat them on social more than they beat us on TV, which is fine, except TV has the money and is paying the money at this stage of the game, and social really isn't. And so until they figure out how to monetize, then that doesn't really do much. So for Mark Cuban to sell, to me, the guy who founded broadcast.com, the reason why we're able to stream audio and stream things on the internet is because of his company. He sold it shortly before the .com bubble burst. So if there's anything, I know this dude knows when to get out. And so now he's getting out. That tips me off a little.
Not only getting out, but getting out when you know him to be, among all of the basketball owners, the one who is most tethered to emotionally loving that team. Ooh. Like publicly, what you know of owners, most of them hide in the shadows. His love is public. There might be other guys who love it.
I think the Buss family, for reasons that go beyond.
So casual NBA observer, I think you're parsing at this point. Yeah. That's not a wild take from Dan. Like,
I think
he's in T-shirts on the bench.
Well, I think the biggest proof to what you're trying to say is the guy sold his team and negotiated for a way to still run it, that's unheard of. So.
We will see how true that ends up being, all of that, because I'm with Samson. That doesn't smell right. Usually if people buy something, they want power over it, and the arguments that start over after that get complicated. So I understand why Mark Cuban would want that and why it would be publicly stated. I don't understand if they're going to be able to make that tenable.
Unless it's because the Adelson Trust, Miriam Adelson, and her son-in-law and the trust of Sheldon Adelson that they're using to buy this they're seeing it as a place to park their money. unless they're seeing it as like, oh, okay, well, real estate's a little messed up right now. Let's put our money into a sports team. We don't really want to deal with it, and Mark seems to love this, so have at it. You can run the basketball part. And I don't think that's necessarily a sustainable relationship, because I think especially if you're a competitive person, you probably want ownership over the thing you're running eventually. Like it doesn't quite match up to me, but I think the only way that makes sense is if this is a strict place to park money, assuming it's going to appreciate, which Amin is saying.
It's like back when big corporations were buying teams. Remember, ITT Sheraton owned the Knicks, and Time Warner owned the Atlanta Hawks, right? Like, do they care? They don't really care. Like, they don't want to play fantasy basketball.
It's like when Lincoln Financial enters the sports media game. It's just an investment that they're trying to flip off. And there is some precedent happening right now in the world of sports. It's international, it's Premier League soccer, but the reports are the Glazers are selling a 25% share to a British billionaire, and that 25% would actually be a controlling interest in terms of business operations while not being the majority owner. So there are, I know it's different across the pond, but there is very recent precedent of this.
Would they, if it turns out Mark Cuban, Amin's right, and Mark Cuban is selling because he sees something other people don't see, would they call the movie about it The Big Tall? Because it's NBA? The Big Short? I got it. Get it? Okay.
I love you, Charlotte.
It is a great deal for Mark Cuban, though, to be able to stay with all the parts of the business that you love while you wait to see if the next TV contract is the one that will become everyone else's headache. So you sell now, you make all of the money, you get the parts of the sport you still love by running the team, and you'll get out before the next. If the thing falls apart financially, you don't have any of the risk anymore.
Well, he does have, because he still retains
some of the risk, right? Whatever his stake is, but if it's not going to fall apart that way.
The idea is that he got paid. He cashed out and still retains some ownership, and most importantly, retains the ability to continue to play with the toy, right? So it's like, hey, I'm selling you my Buzz Lightyear. Hold on, but I get to play with it every day, though. I get to come over your house and play with it, and you're like, yeah, I just want it to sit on the shelf. I don't want to actually play with it.
Is this what Vince McMahon did by selling 30% of his stake in the company that he formed and getting $700 million for it, where you're selling a piece of it before things get too crazy? You're getting out so that you can get a substantive amount of cash. You're lowering your risk, but you're still staying around the thing that you want and not divesting completely. You're just taking your initial victory lap.
I mean, it's great. Get capital, retain power. Although internally, since it is a different company, and this low-key might be a transition for WWE away from Vince McMahon too. It was reported that in the recent signing of CM Punk that it wasn't a Vince call, it was a Nick Khan and Triple H call, and then there are people that follow the dirt sheets that say to this day there isn't anything that doesn't have his stamp on it. But I think as it pertains to Vince, he had a bad investment with the XFL a couple times over, and any time that you can cash out to that tune, I wouldn't necessarily read too much into it, but look at his age. He's certainly at the end of his time running it.
People that follow the what?
Dirt sheets.
What are dirt sheets?
Dirt sheets are internet term for the rumor mill when it comes to pro wrestling.
I would love to recreate, if we're going to make these inside references where Mike Ryan is in the meetings where they hate Kyle Lowry. I would love to have a recreation of what those meetings look like that Chris Cody hasn't been allowed to attend because he
just Mike and Zaslow texting each other.
Cortez is there.
Oh, by the way, I got to chime in. I don't
Lausen.
No, I don't know if I'm allowed to say who chimed in, but the name Hassan Whiteside was brought up.
That's a good one.
Trump card all of your.
Well, I would also put Beasley on that all frustration team.
Michael Beasley, yep, that's another one. Trump cards all
Thank
your
you for saying frustration team. This hate is thrown around too easily around here. What the hell is going on today? Heat culture, Mark Cuban, business show. I speak for America when I say, wake the hell up, everybody. It's an NFL game going on tonight. The Cowboys play the Seahawks in an important game.
That ain't a local topic.
Give a damn what your topic is, brother. Salute to you.
Not my topic, local topic.
I couldn't hear you, these weak-ass headphones. But what I'm telling you is, brother, it's a lot of excitement going on. And y'all sitting here talking about hate? Get the hell up out of here. Y'all wake up.
Yes.
I love you, Charlotte. You ate it very hard like 2 minutes ago. I want to tell you I love you, though.
I appreciate that.
How is she
you-
doing? I can't even look at her.
That she took the
I'm
swing.
a dead iguana. I'm frozen. I've fallen out of my tree. Pat Riley's about to pick me up and bury me in his backyard. Maybe front.
You have to keep taking the swings. You have to
tall.
go toward the lonely. Go toward the loneliness.
It's funny.
Not if you have to say Big Short after.
I love you, Charlotte.
I wasn't sure you all got it because it was so esoteric.
Oh, I got it.
It was it was
Esoteric.
two layered. Juju, you are bringing positivity to the environment as you always do. You and Amin went to a stand-up show. You can use some laughter in your life because as our social media correspondent, you have to understand, Juju is overseeing a toxic waste dump, and he's doing it artfully. He's creating art in the sewer because it's an acid pit, and what he has to endure is unfair. I feel for him every day. I see how basically it is simply a place where the most repressed and the angriest of people can anonymously sort of do the things they want to do more publicly and can hide while doing it. And so it's the worst parts of everything. That doesn't mean it doesn't have its great elements, but Juju has been battered by everything that's happening. They're seeing the underbelly of America being just awful. And you and Amin decided to take in a stand-up show yesterday.
It was by accident. We just happened to be at a bar, and then our stand-up show broke out.
Really?
Open mic?
Quotations around stand-up show, by the way. Wow, I could have got up there. You feel me? This one brother, salute to him for having this courage.
Hennessy Williams. Shout out to Hennessy
Oh,
Williams.
no. Salute to Hennessy Williams.
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
funny as hell. And Brittany Brave, who was a guest on Because Miami up here
Yes.
with Billy Corbin. Check it out whenever you can. Weekdays at Friday. Whatever. But,
Weekdays on
yeah,
Friday.
bro. It was one brother there. Every joke was with the Charlotte jokes that she told.
Oh, man.
Every single joke
That
was that.
silence.
I was like, oh,
No,
my
one
God.
of them
Okay,
Charlotte
okay,
jokes.
that's
They have a
that
name
hurts.
now.
Oh, no. A Charlotte memorial joke. Oh, no, Charlotte. No.
Damn it.
No. One of them Charlotte jokes, Juju. That you salute to her, but what?
Salute. She understands that I love her more than anything.
I
mostly.
I get it.
Yeah, but he was up there bombing. He was bombing so bad that it was
Okay.
hilarious.
Me and Juju started dying.
Everything was coming out of his mouth. You may as well have been Eddie Murphy as far as I was concerned, because he was bombing and he didn't give a damn. Next joke coming up hot.
It's like Pac-Man when you go on this side and then all of a sudden you reappear on the other side. His shit was so unfunny that he reappeared on the funny side on over here, man.
Amin has a deep, deep appreciation for things sinking into the unfunny, and the thing that reminds me of it is him trying ventriloquism yesterday with a fish for the first time.
Damn. It was pretty good. I don't know what y'all talking about. It was good as hell.
Are we going to get to the Shaquille O'Neal video, or we're not going to get to the Shaquille O'Neal video? You now have
Is it going to become the new Mike's dad's texts?
What?
Well said.
Is it going to become the new Mike's dad's text? That what I said?
Got it.
Let's go to the Shaquille O'Neal video.
A lot
now,
of possessives. It's always
talking
tricky.
About heat culture.
Let's run that one back. I think I said it well.
Define what heat culture is. What does it really mean? Because you lived it, you won a championship here. What is heat culture?
I'm going to define it in 3 words. Discipline, motivation, and never giving up. If you remember in the finals against the Great Dirk Nowitzki, we were down 0-2. The world knows I'm a terrible pick-and-roll defender. You know that. Right. But guess what? We're never going to give up.
I was shocked
We're going to motivate ourselves.
I was shocked when Coach Spoelstra said even
discipline.
you were out there guarding three-point shooters because everyone had to cater to things that weren't their strengths, right?
Yes, we did. So, you know, we had a great team, of course.
3 words: dedication, discipline, and never giving up.
Amin claims Shaq does that on purpose in order to go viral.
Yes. Shaq, by the way, I saw him before the game, and he chastised me for not sticking up for him when he made his ball point.
Look at me,
I said, why do I got to stick up for you? He said, because you have a show. So
Shout out Oddball every weekday but Mondays for some reason. Also the Dan Le Batard Show, Stugotz.
Oh, that's nice.
What's with the you standing and Charlotte sitting thing?
I like to stand. She likes to sit down.
All right.
That's a pretty simple answer.
What's
All
with
right.
you sitting back there and dancing over here?
That covers it.
Shaquille O'Neal has gotten mad at me for saying certain things that I've thought are benign, and you say he does this stuff to go viral. They didn't have any fun with it there, that he was saying 3 words and then went more than 3 words. I have found him to be unusually sensitive. Also, though, more comfortable in his own skin than someone for that size than anyone I have ever met.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I believe that he carries, like I think of big men like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or whatever, going through life ornery, going through life because they've always been the oddball. They've been gawked at since childhood.
He said it.
Do you know anyone else Shaq's size? Like, do you have a bunch of friends Shaq's size and you're like, he looks the most comfortable?
7-footers is what I meant. Now, why would you guys laugh at Dan is Shaq's size? What's funny about Dan is Shaq's size?
Well, let's hear him out. He could be making a weight point.
Because you're unexpectedly large. You're a big guy.
You have a presence about you.
I thought you'd be like 5'11" when I met you.
Very wide.
This happens all the time. People that meet me.
I'll tell you what, I trust your free throws more.
Evidently, people who meet me think that I'm much smaller than I am. However, I don't believe it is fair to say that I am Shaq's size. Again, I can be hulking and fit
Towering.
in Shaq's navel. I am
Sweaty.
Yes, I am. Yes, sweaty as well. Yes, as sweaty as Shaq, I will allow. But Shaq's size, I will not allow. Shaq's weight, I will not allow. I will not allow that. No, I won't allow it. That you've gone. No. Now you've gone too far.
He has lost a lot of weight.
He's not.
So have you, though.
Your feet are nicer.
Thank you.
Do you know that for a fact?
I saw Dan's feet when he was Fred Flintstone. Not terrible.
I was barefooted as the jester yesterday too.
You
Why?
were?
You were?
Yeah.
What? You're giving that away for free?
Yeah, everybody could have.
Would you like to talk college football?
I would.
Can I say one thing real quick about heat culture?
Yes.
Okay. The culture court, where, what? I mean, he's already laughing. Oh, my God.
She said this to me in the middle of a game, by the way.
Yeah. I'm staring at the side signage under the scorer's table, and it says, hardest working, best condition, most professional, unselfish, toughest, meanest, nastiest team in the NBA. And I was like, if I were a visiting team, if I were a player on a visiting team and I came here and I saw that, it would enrage me so much that I would play hard. Heat culture would work on me only as the visiting team. I'd be like, oh, you guys think you're the nastiest team? Watch this. And then have like 50 points.
That's true. We're giving it away for free. Usually that's like in our locker room where only we can see it. Giving it away.
Putting the bulletin board material on the court. Yeah.
Yes.
She's not wrong about that. It could backfire on you. It would be something that would piss people off. But since Mike Ryan mentioned, do you want to talk some college football? I'm assuming this is in reference to the foot show that
Yes, the foot show.
that Jessica.
That's the
and
internal name
Nice
for foot
name.
girls. The foot show.
Oh.
Well, when are we going to do that? Because the season's now over.
No,
and we
it's
still
still
don't
going
have
on.
We don't have
what
a name.
are you talking about?
No,
the
we're-
season has just begun.
It's an excellent point. Not just bowl season, conference championships, obviously underway this weekend, but it's recruiting season. It's a portal season.
Coaching carousel season.
It's incredible right now. This is actually the apex of the college football season, and we have consulted with the talents who weren't super receptive but not hesitant for the Foot Girls title, and we took that information and we hired a very pricey consulting firm, and we've come back with a big open for Jess and Lucy's unnamed college football show that we will unveil this week.
I have not heard this yet. I do not give this my support.
Foot women?
I'm not giving it away. We'll all find out together.
I feel like everybody's rooting for Alabama for the first time ever.
I am an Alabama fan. I've
I've never rooted for them more.
Chris Cody, you are absolutely right. I decided this year, you know what would be funny if Alabama won the national championship. It would be hilarious.
I just want chaos. I want everyone
Yes.
to win with one loss. I want Florida State to win barely, so they stay undefeated. And, oh man, I just want FSU to not make it undefeated. That's really what I want here.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Is everybody rooting for Alabama? Because I hadn't considered the idea of that. I really had not thought before you just mentioned it that would be a possible thing in my lifetime.
I just want, in the final year of the 4-team playoff, for this committee to have
the worst time ever.
chaos
It's
scenario.
impossible.
to piss
choice.
everyone off.
Yeah,
They
and
haven't had to do it that much.
That's why I
if
want them
ever.
to do the thing.
They've been
Florida State out of there.
They've been bailed out, but you can kind of see these rankings headed into conference championship week, them plotting their escape route. That's all these rankings are right now, because
Putting FSU at 4 definitely is like, all right, if they win, they're in.
Yeah,
We're
they're-
not going to make a hard choice.
you can already see by where the rankings are now that they're plotting for what happens if Bama beats Georgia and Texas wins the Big 12, but FSU wins and Oregon essentially erases their loss against Washington. You could see that this isn't about best team anymore. This is about CYA for the CFP.
Nobody thinks FSU will not get in though with a win, right? Like what if
I
they
think-
barely win? What if they look terrible?
I think they'll get in. I think what would be funny, other than Alabama going to the playoff, would be the Pac-12 once again doing the Pac-12 thing, which would be knocking each other out of the playoff entirely, because that has been what the Pac-12 has done for the last however many years. And this year, going into the season, was like, wow, this is the most stacked Pac-12 conference we've ever
Colorado.
seen. There's some great teams like Colorado. There's legitimately though like great quarterbacks in this league. They're gonna have someone in the playoff. But then Washington pulling off the win against Oregon means that Oregon, now a heavy favorite on Friday night, 9.5 points, I think.
It went
winning
up. It keeps going up.
would mean that there's no undefeated Pac-12 champion, and it would be very funny if they got left out in the final season of Pac-12 and we were like, this is the year where they're finally going to have like a super competitive team in the playoff.
Put this on the poll, Juju, please. Is this CYA for the CFB? I'm confused. Forgive me. Forgive my CFP. Excuse me. I'm legitimately confused about why that Washington line keeps going up. Are there injuries that I do not know about?
I don't know what's going on with Penix, and I don't know if he was just super emotional after the win over Wazoo. That could be it. There's not a lot of information, but it looked like they put a cloak over him. He was being escorted out of the stadium, off the field, because he couldn't see, because there was a cloak all over him. I don't know if he didn't want people to see him emotional or if he was hurt. He kind of looked like something was going on there. So the line would indicate something's up.
The other thing I think that is worth considering, though, is also just that Washington's red zone defense and their passing defense is not very good. And Oregon, since the Washington game, has just been an unbelievably unstoppable offense. And so having the Heisman frontrunner Bo Nix against a leaky defense is going to, especially on a neutral field, like remember the first time that they played was at Washington,
Yeah,
which is
it's a big part of it.
A big part of, they had a lot of home field advantage in that game.
But a
so
14-point swing, right? I don't like a 14-point spread.
It is it's a lot of points, right? 9.5 is a lot of points, but I mean, it is. In the first time they played, Lucy and I talked about it on our unnamed college football podcast, that like both of these offenses were playing really, really well, but Oregon had the advantage on defense. And Dan Lanning is someone that has coached defense before, and like you trust his defense. And I think that Oregon's only gotten better throughout the season, and actually losing to Washington, they've probably fixed some things that make them a pretty good contender going into the playoff if they do actually make it.
Would you agree with the notion that aside from a college football playoff spot, aside from the Pac-12 championship, this is also the Heisman Trophy on the line on Friday night with the two quarterbacks there?
It would appear that way, right? Because I just got my notification. I'm going to do this preemptively. Oh, wrong one.
Charlotte about to talk?
Okay. Don't do that.
I'm sorry.
You know what? I'm never going to stop. I'm never going to stop
Keep
trying.
shooting.
As if
Atta
you
girl.
could.
Jordan Poole.
Jeremy Taché. Thank you, Mike. I pressed the wrong button because I didn't have my glasses on.
Shaq fingers.
Are you going to talk about your Heisman vote?
Yes, because he asked me about which way to vote, and because
Sam Hartman?
because of that game.
Why did you just say Jeremy Taché?
Probably because it was a bad. I tell bad
he
jokes, but
tells
they're actually
bad
good.
jokes on purpose?
That's
yes.
my-
Shout out
I
Jeremy.
do
On
that.
purpose. Wait. I think some of them he be
As
trying.
if we're the only ones who have bad jokes in this crowd.
Folks.
I have decided not to cast it until after watching that game, but I have been surprised that Washington keeps that the point spread would change that much from the first time they played. That home field advantage would essentially be worth 14 points if Penix isn't actually hurt. The point that Mike made about, though, the line being where it is, people know something. Is anyone else worried about the fact that Matt Rule is saying that a college quarterback now goes for $1.5 to $2 million, and in some cases $6 million? That's what Matt Rule is saying, whether it's true or not. That all of this stuff, this money, this amount of money, whether it's gambling lines or this amount of money, that you're putting this kind of pressure on kids. They're still kids. Like, I understand that they're famous kids and important kids, but when the professionalism seeps into the sideline and a kid is making his way off the field and Caleb Williams is crying at the end of his games, like, it's an awful lot of pressure to put on kids when you start, on top of everything else, you make the money skyrocket and you wonder how much gambling information is out there on whether a guy is hurt or not.
Well, then, we shouldn't put any of it on TV, and we shouldn't pay their coaches $10 million a year either.
Yeah.
They should be rich kids.